What's going on, guys? It's your boy Suman here with a brand new tutorial on CSS for beginners, straight up to the advanced, and I'm really excited to be doing this with you guys. First of all, there will be 9 sections in this course, 5 covering the fundamentals of CSS and 4 covering the advanced level of CSS. Afterwards, we will apply all what we've learned in building basic components of websites like the navbar, the footer, sign-in and sign-up forms, hero images, basic web layouts, and many more components until we build a fully blown website. And without much hesitation, let's go through each of the 5 sections covering the fundamentals of CSS and what we will be learning. The advanced section will follow later after completion of the fundamentals. Section 1 of the fundamentals will be treating the introduction to CSS, CSS syntax, ways to add CSS to the web page, and CSS comments. In the second section, we'll be treating the box model, margin padding, borders, width and height, dimensions, and colors as well. And in the third section, we'll be treating the CSS background and CSS combinators. In the fourth section, we'll be treating CSS fonts, how to add custom fonts to your web page, icons, pseudo classes, pseudo elements as well. And in the fifth section, we'll be treating the CSS float, how to clear floats, and the display properties of elements. The code editor I'll be using here will be the Visual Studio Code, though you can also use any code editor of your choice like the Sublime Text, the Notepad++, brackets, Notepad, Atom, any code editor of your choice. And Google Chrome will also be my go-to browser throughout the course. So without wasting much time, let's download, install, and configure our tools. To download the tools we'll be using, open any browser of your choice and in the search bar type in download Google Chrome, yes, and press on enter. You click on the first one, which is www.google.com. So with the first one, Google Chrome browser, download Google. So if you're on this page, if you're following me, the browser built by Google, so you just click on download Chrome. Yeah, something should pop up indicating your download is in progress. And if nothing pops up, go to the top right corner and click on download Chrome again. Yeah, you see for this one it popped up, so accept and install. Yeah, to download our second tool, which is Visual Studio Code, go to that same browser in the search bar, type download Visual Studio Code and press on enter. We use the first link, which is download Visual Studio Code Mac, Linux, Windows. Yeah. Okay. So if you are using the Linux Debian Ubuntu, yes, yours. And if you are with the Mac, the OS, this one, you go for this one. But for me, I'm using Windows, so I'll go for this one. So I'll just click on it. And I'm good to go. A pop-up should come on where I should save it all, and mostly by default your downloads should be in your downloads folder. Yeah, and this is how Visual Studio Code looks like. Friendly, really friendly. So don't be intimidated if you think it's looking like something serious. Okay, so we head into our desktop and set everything up. Okay, so I've already downloaded them and they are on my desktop. So to install, you just double click and you run the normal installation procedure. To install and configure our second tool, right click on Visual Studio Code, the setup, open. I accept the agreement. Next. Make sure these two boxes are checked. Yeah, you can also check the add open with Chrome action window explorer for content menu. Yeah, you can also check that one as well. And you click on next. Install. You can either check it to launch Visual Studio Code immediately after pressing on enter, or you can just leave it that way if you want. Yeah. Okay, this is how mine looks like. Visual Studio Code, as harmless as it can be. So we'll close it for now. Yeah, we are done with downloading and installing our tools. To open Visual Studio Code, you can right click and select open, or you can also double click to open. After opening Visual Studio Code, on our far left hand side, you can see that there are 5 icons at the top, 2 at the bottom. We will ignore the 2 at the bottom for now. Let's focus on the 5 at the top. And with the 5 at the top, we'll be using the last one of them, which is extensions. And it has the shortcuts of Ctrl+Shift+X. So you can use that as well. And in the extensions marketplace, we'll type in live server. That's the extension we'll be using. Yeah. Click on it. Click on install. We'll also install material icon theme. Install. Yeah. So after that, we will just restart our Visual Studio Code. We are done for now. See you guys. First of all, the only requirement here is knowing a little bit about HTML. And though it's not really necessary, knowing a little bit about HTML will help you as you go through this course in your career as well. And with out of the way, let's focus on what we'll actually be doing here. Okay, so we'll be focusing on what CSS is, why we should use CSS, and I'll be demonstrating that very soon, and the default styles of most browsers. So what the hell is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it's the language for describing the presentation of an HTML document. CSS is one amongst 3 of the building blocks of web pages alongside HTML and JavaScript. HTML in a layman language is the bare bone or the skeleton of the web page. JavaScript is the dynamic muscles of the web page, and CSS is the flesh of the web page. Okay guys, welcome to my food website. I'm really thankful you passed by. Okay, this is just a website I created to demonstrate why we need CSS. Okay, so to head to the Google Developer Tools, you can right click and select Inspect. And you can also use the shortcut key Ctrl+Shift+I on Chrome and Explorer. And on Opera, it's Ctrl+Shift+C. Okay, so if you go to sources, this is the CSS code right here. The CSS code, this is it. So I'm clearing everything. And you can see how messy everything is within a sec. This is the raw HTML, by the way. And you can see how the button, everything is. The B. And if I bring it back, you can see how the page immediately changes. This is the power of CSS, guys. And look how responsive it is. keep shrinking. Okay, let's go to the top. Everything keeps shrinking. The fonts, the images, the buttons, the footer as well, until it fits a mobile view. So this is how it look like on mobile. This is the default browser styles without CSS, only HTML. So this is the styles the browser applies to HTML. And you can see by default, anchor tags or links or hyperlinks are designed blue and mostly underlined like this. And this is the H1 tags. This is how it looks like, the H1. And this is the H2. These are the paragraph tags. This is how they look like by default. And by default, the images are really large, or they take their full size. So with CSS, we will get to style the image according to our preference. This is how the button looks like, and this is how everything looks like. And to go to our developer tools, right click or use the shortcut keys. Click on this icon, or you can also use Ctrl+Shift+C. So you click on this icon, you hover over any elements you want, and you can see orange bars both on top and underneath these elements right here. Same to this, and these oranges are the margin around the elements. By default, the browser applies both margin and padding to some elements, and with CSS you can either choose to remove or add or maintain the margins if you wish to. So I think that's all for today, and guys, we'll dive more deep. First of all, note that CSS is just a collection of rules, and each rule consists of a selector and declaration. A selector points to the HTML element you want to style in your web page, and a declaration, on the other hand, is made up of property name and a value. We'll be diving deep into selectors very soon, but for now, note that a selector could be an element name, a class name, an ID, element and a class name at the same time, an ID and a class name, an element and an ID, and even 3 of them. And that's where selector specificity comes in mind. And we'll be diving deep into it very soon, but for now, I hope you don't get lost. I hope you are not confused, so bear with me. I'll be demonstrating it to you guys very soon. And before that, let's cover my 3 always for CSS syntax. The first one is always wrap your declarations with curly brackets. The second one is always separate your property names and value with a colon. You can see in my diagram that the colons are red in color. And the third one is always end your declarations with a semicolon. And from my diagram, you can also see that the semicolons are red in color and the brackets, curly brackets, are closing them. All I'm trying to say is select all p tags in my HTML page and give them a font size of 25 pixels and a line height of 50 pixels. My second illustration also means that give the header ID wrapper a gray background. Okay, in my third illustration, all I'm trying to say is give a margin top of 25 pixels and a padding of 50 pixels to all the div tags within my post class. And here, let's head to our browser and see how everything works. Okay, to create our first project, open Visual Studio Code. On your desktop, create a folder and name it CSS project. Drag and drop this folder on your Visual Studio Code, just like I'm doing here. You can see your folder name here, CSS project, and 4 icons here. Click on the first one to create a new file. Name this file index.html. Immediately you press on enter after naming it, you can see the index.html icon change. This is because of the material icon theme we installed earlier. So I'm trying to zoom in here. Okay, let's create our second file, which is styles.css. Okay. And mind you, we won't be treating HTML too deep. We'll just be on the surfaces. So that's why I earlier said you should have at least a little knowledge about HTML. Okay, so we'll be using the exclamation mark emit abbreviation. So after inputting this, press on enter, or you can use tab as well. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so the emit abbreviation gave us a boilerplate, an HTML boilerplate, and this is what we'll be using. So don't really focus about this much here. We'll come back to it later on. Change the title. So you could do it CSS projects. Okay. Okay, in the body, let's type in something. Okay, so after typing this, you go to your HTML index.html file, right click it, and you see open with live server. If you didn't install live server, you won't see this up here. Okay, so select. You can see immediately that our file, HTML file, is up and running. This is my first project. Okay, so now project is up and running. So using style tags. Okay, so you can see that immediately after typing my style tags, my code editor closed it for me. Okay, let's style something here. So after saving, you can see an immediate change in our browser here. You can see the H1 tag is orange red in color. Okay, let's start the P tags as well. Okay, so let's give our H1 an orange red color, and our P tag a font size of 500 pixels and color of blue. Nice combination, right? Okay, so in our browser, wow. So you can see in our browser, you can see how big our P tags are, covering the whole screen of our browser. Okay, let's minimize this a little bit. Okay, let's say 100 pixels, right? Okay, save Lifesaver automatically refreshes our page for us. Boom. P tags are blue and gigantic. H1s here are now small and orange red. This is the power of CSS. Okay, let's do something again. Like, let's say, okay, so H1 here is the selector. Selecting this H1 tag. And the P here is also the selector. Selecting the P tags here. Okay, so now let's create another P tag and give it a class instead. This is a class. This is a class P tag. Wow. So let's give it a class of, okay, let's give it a class of post. Okay, so to select this P tag using its class name, we'll be using the dots or period, depending on where you are from. Post. This is how we select the P tag using its class name. Okay, we'll also give this a font weight of 700. Font size of also 100 pixels. Okay, it's 50 pixels. 50 pixels. And the color of, let's say, the color of green. Hit save, and Lifesaver automatically refreshes our page for us. And this is what you can see here. This is a class P tag, and this is the normal P tag without a class, and this is the H1. Okay, let's use the ID. So creating an H2 tag. This H2 will have an ID. An ID equal to something. And also make sure your IDs are unique to one element on the entire HTML page. You can't repeat a single ID for multiple HTML elements in your page. Okay. So using our ID something, we'll go to our styles and using the hash sign, hash ID. And this is how we select an HTML element using the ID. We'll also give it the same styling, but with a little changes. Okay, this one will be cyan, a font size of 20 pixels, and a font weight of bold. Hit save, page automatically refreshes. Here it is, as small as it can be. Let's make it a little larger. Let's increase the font size to 200 pixels. Yeah, and this is how it is. This H2 will have an ID. Okay, boom, this is how big it is. This H2 will have an ID, covering almost the entire page. Okay, to use CSS comments, we input the / star or asterisk, and immediately after inputting the star, you can see that from H1 to the bottom, everything has been grayed out. And to close the comment, you use the star and / again to close the comments. And in here, in between these two, you can type anything you want here. And everything here and anything here will be ignored by your browser. So you can type styling my first H1 tag, and this will be totally ignored by your browser. Okay, in VS Code, and I don't know about the other code editors, but in VS Code, the shortcut for creating a comment is Control and the /. So to comment, let's say H1, I could just select H1 and press on Control and the / and it will comment it. And to uncomment it, I will just use the same keys, Control and the / to uncomment it again. And mind you, comments are totally ignored by your browser. So you can see after I commented H1. So mind you can see that after I commented H1 and hit save, Live Server automatically removed the styles I applied to the H1. You can see H1 is now black again. And if I uncomment it again and hit save, you can see H1 now is orange red again. You can do same to the classes, anything in the CSS file. You can even comment everything you want. And you could also comment things temporarily. And you could also comment some styles temporarily in order to see some effects you will get. And okay.